Hello, welcome to today's video. In this video, we shall look at some other uses of the comma. I want to begin by looking at one of the ways in which we incorrectly use the comma. Sometimes when we write, we separate the subject of the sentence from the verb of the sentence when there is no reason whatsoever to do this. Let's illustrate this with this example on the board. The principal of Our Ladies High School has been transferred. Now the subject of this sentence is the principal of Our Ladies High School, and the verb of the sentence is has been transferred. If you look at this sentence, you see that the subject is separated from the verb of the sentence with a comma. There is no reason whatsoever to do this. The comma there is not justified. It is not needed. It is unnecessary. Now let's look at this other example. Chinua Achebe is the author of Things Fall Apart. The subject of this sentence is Chinua Achebe, and the verb of the sentence is the word is. Again, the subject of the sentence is separated from the verb with a comma. There is no reason to do this. The comma has no business being in that place. So let's try to avoid these kinds of mistakes. Now, the subject of the sentence and the verb of the sentence, they sometimes have what we call intervening expressions between them, parenthetical expressions between them, or words in apposition between them. Parenthetical expressions and words in appositions are words that are just given for more information, for added idea. They are not really important to the sentence. We can say they are non-essential. They are non-restrictive. If you remove them from the sentence is fine. Sentence is okay. The sentence is meaningful. We have such words standing between the subject of the sentence and the verb of the sentence. When you have such words, parenthetical expressions, or words in apposition standing between the subject of the sentence and the verb of the sentence, you have to separate these parenthetical expressions, these words in apposition, from the rest of the sentence with a comma. So this is one of the uses of the comma. Let's illustrate this idea with examples. The principal of Our Ladies High School, a kind woman, has been transferred. A kind woman is a parenthetical expression. It is just added to give us ideas, further information, more information about the principal of Our Ladies High School. It is not really essential to the sentence. We can remove it and the sentence is just fine. So when you have a parenthetical expressions like this, separate it with a comma. So you see a comma here, a comma here. This is the subject of the sentence, the principal of Our Ladies High School, and the verb is has been transferred. Now see this coming between them, a parenthetical expression. So you separate it with a comma. Look at this other example. Chinua Achebe, a world-renowned novelist, is the author of Things Fall Apart. The subject of the sentence is Chinua Achebe, and the verb is this word is. But standing between them is this expression, this phrase in apposition, a world-renowned novelist. It's just giving us an added idea, further information about Chinua Achebe. If we remove it from the sentence, the sentence is okay. The sentence is still fine. So this is an expression in apposition, giving us further information about Chinua Achebe. Separate it with a comma. Now, sometimes the words that function in apposition may not be in the middle of the sentence. The words may be at the end of the sentence, as illustrated by this. I read Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, a world-renowned novelist. Now, this is explaining Chinua Achebe, just giving us added information, added idea about Chinua Achebe. You separate it from the rest of the sentence with a comma. Now let's look at another use of the comma. The comma is used to separate coordinate adjectives that modify the same noun. The comma is used to separate coordinate adjectives that modify the same noun. Efficient and business-minded are coordinate adjectives, and they are separated with a comma. Sandra bought 2 golden spoons this morning. 2 and golden are modifying spoons, but they are not coordinate adjectives. So it is incorrect to put a comma here. Now the question that you might be asking now is, what are coordinate adjectives? There are 2 or more adjectives that modify the same noun. Now, why is it that this efficient, business-minded are coordinate adjectives and these 2 golden spoons are not coordinate adjectives? There are 2 rules that you can use to determine if these adjectives are coordinate. The first rule is to ask yourself, can I use the word and between them? If you can use and between them and the sentence still makes sense, then the adjectives are coordinate. Now let's try it. Sandra is an efficient and business-minded secretary. Does that make sense? Yes. Now let's try it here. Sandra bought 2 and golden spoons this morning. 2 and golden spoons. That does not make sense. So it means these are not coordinate adjectives. And because they are not coordinate adjectives, you don't use a comma between them. Let's look at another example. Sandra is a gentle, kind teacher. Gentle, kind are coordinate adjectives. Why are they coordinate adjectives? One of the tests is to put and here. If you put and here, will the sentence make sense? Sandra is a gentle and kind teacher. Does that make sense? Yes, it does. Now let's try it here. Sandra has 3 brown shoes. Let's insert and here. Sandra has 3 and brown shoes. Does that make sense? No. So we don't require a comma here. Now the second test you can use is to change the position of the coordinate adjectives. If you change their positions and they make sense, they make meaning, the sentence still makes meaning, then it means that they are coordinate adjectives. This is what we're saying. Sandra is an efficient, business-minded secretary. Let's change the position. Sandra is a business-minded and efficient secretary. Now, instead of this first, we started with this. Sandra is a business-minded and efficient secretary. Does that make sense? It does. Sandra bought golden 2 spoons. Sandra bought golden 2 spoons. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Now let's try it for this. Sandra is a kind and gentle teacher. Does that make sense? Yes. Let's try it here. Sandra has brown 3 shoes. Does that make sense? Definitely it doesn't. So when you try these 2 rules, the and use a and the and between the coordinate adjectives. If it makes sense, then they are coordinate adjectives. Or you swap the position and see if the sentence will still make sense. If the sentence does make sense, then they are coordinate adjectives. When you have coordinate adjectives in sentences, separate them with a comma. Okay? Now the last use of the comma that I want to discuss here is very, very simple, and many of us are familiar with this. The comma is used to separate a list of items, especially if there are more than 3 or 4. For example, Sandra bought rice, fish, and meat. Sandra bought rice, use a comma, fish, a comma, and meat. Now there are authorities that say that this last comma here is optional. So they say it is also correct to write Sandra bought rice, fish, and meat. Yes, some authorities say adding a comma before the conjunction is optional. For me, I use this, and it is good you are consistent with it. So if you decide that it is not needed and you want to use this, be consistent with it. But for me, I use this. And one of the reasons, in fact, the reason I use this is that there are situations you find yourself. There are certain kinds of sentences you construct, certain kinds of sentences you encounter. And you will discover that to avoid the problem of ambiguity, the comma before the conjunction is important. I want to illustrate this with this. I bought these gifts for my neighbors, Jane and Sandra. Now, if you leave the sentence the way it is, what the sentence simply means is that Jane and Sandra are your neighbors. So they are actually worse in our position. They are explaining neighbors. If you remove them, the sentence is fine. I bought these gifts for my neighbors. Full stop. So, but if you continue and you add this, these are just words in apposition. Now, it is possible that that may not be the intention or the meaning of the sentence. It is possible that the gifts were bought for 3 sets of people, 3 groups. Neighbors on one hand, Jane on one hand, and Sandra on this other hand. Now, if that were the case, it will be inevitable to put a comma here. I bought these gifts for my neighbors. My neighbors, Jane and Sandra. So we have 3 groups of people here. Neighbors, 1, Jane, 1, Sandra, 1. So because of situations like this, I always like to maintain this. Now, take note that the comma is used to separate items, lists that are 3 and above, not 2. So it is incorrect to say, all right, Sandra bought rice and fish. No, this is incorrect to put a comma here. This video brings to an end our focus on the uses of the comma. Once again, I want to thank you for your time. Please subscribe to this channel and help to share this video. It might be helpful to somebody out there, especially our students. And I also want to ask you to click on the notification bell so that when I upload new videos, you get an alert immediately. Once again, thank you.